Shawn and Maya in the morning on this hump day. Mike, check it out. Guess what day it is? It's hump day, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your boy, the Superback, Shawn Sierra. We have a lot of sports to talk about today. But first, I want to wish my mom a happy 75th birthday. It's her birthday today. We did a walk earlier, a whole bunch of stuff. We're running a whole crazy good stuff. Going out to lunch. I'm excited, but I want to wish her a happy birthday. Well, listen, if you're watching this on Facebook Live, well, then I guess you found us on Facebook. You can also tweet the show. You can tweet us at SM_mornings or at SportsZoneShy. That's CHI at SportsZoneShy. Now, if you want to follow me, just me personally online, want to know what I did? Let me tell you what I did. Want to know what I did? Here's what I did. I made it nice and easy for you folks. Nice and easy. One handle for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, the Snapper. All one handle at the Shawn Sierra. And there she is. She's waiting in the wing. She's bobbed. She's jumping. She's staying warm. She's loosening up. My co-host, a co-pilot in this insanity, the one and only Maya Akai. What up, Maya? Hair's all. Look at your hair. Look at you. You got a hot day or something today? Look at you.
No, this is called quarantine hair. It's like wash and go. No longer is it I'm going to do any effort. I'm going to walk out the shower, put some conditioner, and walk out the door. And this is what it is. I'm not fighting to make it looser. I'm letting it go with itself. See, COVID has totally changed my mindset about some things.
Okay, and this is one of them.
And hair is one of them. So this is my wash and go look. And happy birthday, Mama Sierra. Look at her. Big plans for the day? Any big plans for the day?
Well, we went walking already. We're going to lunch. And I think she said she's going to the club later. So I don't know which one, but she's going to the club. But other than that, somebody you too damn old to be going to the club.
They're going to play pinochle? They're going to go play spades?
By her game, 500 rummies, her game, boy. That's her game.
Okay.
She's whipping my ass to that shit, dude. She kicks my butt all the time.
I think you post your little scorecards and stuff. That's funny. I'm like, and she still gets the best of you. Okay.
Yeah. 75 years old, still gets the best of me. But anyway, what are you going to do? But no, it's good. We're going to do that. We're going to actually have something on Sunday. So one of her her sisters is having some tamales and pozole on Sunday as well. So some small people we're gonna go to the restaurant. Cooper's Hawk. You're familiar with that. So we're gonna go to Cooper's Hawk.
Yes.
Yeah. So they got the outdoors dining underneath the big tent and everything. So yeah. So we're that's what we're doing today after the show. So pretty happy about that, and she's happy. She was up and she was walking like a speed walker today, man. Like damn, she was walking crazy today. Like
he's like, I got another year under my belt. Let me kick this up a notch.
I'm saying she was not.
Shawn, look, you get it from your mama. Watch this. So
yeah, it's gonna be a good day, and I'm thankful that it's another turn around the sun for her, another trip around the sun, and enjoy as much as I can with her. So
yeah, very good stuff. Nice summer birthday too. It's always nice to have a summer birthday.
Yes, it is.
February birthday, and I have to say it really sucks because it's cold weather. You can't do outside stuff, and I keep saying I'm gonna have a happy conception day, which means I know I got conceived in warm weather. So I can have a celebration in warm weather. Serious. Happy conception day. This was the day I was made. Big things happen 9 months later.
Little things happen. Big things happen.
Yeah, little big things happen. Life-changing things happen 9 months later. Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's good stuff. Yeah. So, well, listen. Let them know where they can find you. It's not like it's scrolling, or not like it's underneath your picture or anything.
See, this is what happens when you upgrade stuff. So see, now all you have to do is just look right below me. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter at @TheSportsChica. And if you happen to be on Instagram, you can find me at Maya_Akai. So there you go.
Guys, we have a great show, but you know what? I would be remiss if I didn't bring him in. He is our Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife, the guy behind the mask. He is the Wiz himself.
Right.
Ivan Vargas. What's up, Papa? How are you?
What's up? Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good.
Only the Wiz. Only the Wiz. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, right. Seriously. Happy birthday to your mom, Shawn, by the way.
Thanks. I will let her know.
For sure.
Thank you. She's fired up for a crazy butt. So.
And I actually would like to see her kick your butt in Rummy. That'd be pretty funny.
Let's go back on my timeline. You'll see a couple. You'll see more than enough. More than enough. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? That's a good idea, Maya. Maybe we'll do that today. I'll play some Rummy tonight with her.
Post your scores.
Yeah, I always post them. Win, lose, or draw. Well, win or lose, I post them. So, and I definitely want to beat her on her birthday. Definitely want to beat her on her birthday. But it might be. Oh, where do you think I would get my competitive spirit from?
Yeah, no.
Right.
No, she definitely she loves to tell the story. That in Grant, this story. So she when her and her sister, they're 11 months apart, like Irish twins. Okay, apparently they didn't have cable back in 1944 and 45. Who go figure? So my aunt's born August 2nd of 44, and my mom's born July 1st of 45. So, like I said, apparently no cable amongst the family back there with grandma. So they found other stuff to do. But she said they were the only ones, her and my Aunt Lola, who's born 11 months earlier. They're the only ones who could play baseball or softball with the boys in recess because they were that good in grammar school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You did a lot of stuff for your mama. Look at that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So she loves to tell that story. And so so my Aunt Lola's the one's coming over today, and we're going to go out. Like, dude, they're not even like this, Maya. They're like this. They're like this. This is how close they are, both of them. They're like this. Not like this. They're like this. They are like in sync. Those two have been thick as thieves since they've been thick as thieves ever since my mom came in 7-1-45. So my aunt's like, finally, I got a running partner. Yes. It's been like that forever. So, yeah, so good stuff. Well, listen, guys, we got a great show, but we need you to get interactive with us today. So we need you to do me a favor. Do us a favor. Leave a question or comment right there on the post if you're watching this on Facebook Live. Guess what? The comments will come up unless they're stupid, and Ivan won't put them through. Or you know what? Download the app. If you're listening to us on the app, you can get involved as well. You know what? You can text us from the app. Maya took care of that. You can, you know what? So now you can, if you're driving and you pull over to the side, because you're not going to drive and text, you pull over to the side and you can say, hey, that was a great thing on whatever topic it is we're talking about. Or you want to wish my mom a happy birthday? No problem. Pull over, text, and it comes up on the screen. So, what do we have here? What's first, Maya? What's first? Oh, we got a great show for you. We got a great show for you today, guys. At 9:30, excuse me, Josh Hicks from We Are Regal Radio. He's calling in. He's going to talk a little Bulls basketball. Dude, they have the longest offseason in the history of the Chicago Bulls organization. 8 months? There better be some big changes, and Josh Hicks is going to call in and talk to us about what some of those changes could be. At 10 o'clock, Jamar Harp, we had him on, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Soccer guy. However, we brought him on because we wanted to see how the EPL, the English Premier League over in Europe, is playing with no fans, how they're doing, how that is working out minus the fans. And can that be a model for baseball, football, basketball, and hockey? So we're going to talk to Jamar Harp at 10 o'clock. Well, guys, you know how we do the first segment of every show. It's called Top of the Morning to You. And these are the hot topics of the night before or just the sports in general. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, do we have some doozies. Let's see, which way do we go? Which way do we go? Which way do we go? The Cubs, Jason Hayward, donates $100,000 for COVID-19 efforts at the University of Chicago. I know he's a Cub, he's a Chicago Cub, but man, how can you not love Jason Hayward?
It was a really nice thing to do. I'm just going to say that. It's got nothing to do with him being a Cub whatsoever. I just look at so many of the things that are going on with COVID in regards to like medical centers and testing and stuff like that. U of T is probably the last place that actually needed the funding. Real talk. There are smaller, more community-based entities that are like, absolutely, they need money to be able to serve the populations that often are afflicted with the health issues and or with COVID, and they don't have the resources. They got to look for grants and stuff like that. So I'm always like, people should be more mindful where they give their money to. It looks good, and it was a great gesture. I just don't think where he placed it was the right place. That's all. Because I just know from a personal level, all of the agencies that are really struggling to maintain through COVID right now. And that $100,000 could have gone a lot further with some community-based agencies than UFC. That's all I'm saying. But Jason, thank you.
Well, it's you usually go to, places that are more popular, places that most people know, people. So, but I understand your point completely. I understand your point completely. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good, pretty nice thing for him to do. Like you said, he didn't have to do that. People, you don't have to give money, you don't have to donate money, but when you do, it's always appreciated. Well, the next top of the morning topic. Wow, Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman calls Cam Newton's deal with the Patriots ridiculous.
Preposterous.
Yeah, that sounds more like Richard Sherman. Preposterous. Cam Newton had an incentive-laden deal that could get him. It could earn him up to $7.5 million. However, you see some of the other people who signed contracts, and you're wondering, well, why didn't Cam Newton and Jameis Winston signed contract worth a combined $10.3 million, and that's if they max out. The Lions gave Chase Daniel a contract worth $13. You mean to tell me Chase Daniel is anywhere near the talent of Cam Newton? I mean, Jameis Winston? No, because Jameis threw a lot of touchdowns. He throws in a lot of picks. But it just makes things that make you go,
It's that kind of situation, unfortunately, that Cam is coming. He's in a point in his career where he wasn't performing at the level where he was. I'm the kind of person, if I'm a business person, I'm not going to pay you on prospect or just potential. The problem is I didn't pick you up when you were burning hot. If you were still hot, you would still be in Carolina, but you're not. And there's been a step back in his talent due to injury and some other things. And I also think there's some mental stuff going on. I'm not just saying that to be funny. I'm watching his behavior, just how things unfolded. There's this other underlying character things going on with him that I think that maybe he's addressed and he's ready to move forward. And a fresh place could be exactly what he needs. But I'm not going to overpay you based on what you did in the past. Past performance does not always going to mean that your future performance is going to equal that. So not to mention you've had quarterbacks that have come out after you and have done just as amazing things, and they're the spotlight. At one point, Cam Newton was the face of the NFL. He was your commercial guy. You know what I'm saying? And that's not the case anymore. So for me personally, the fact that he got that kind of contract, good for him, because he did get paid on past performance based on nothing current within the last 2 years to give you numbers that say that he's going to be inserted into a system that he does not know, and he's going to thrive. Because now he's got to come in, learn a new system, work with new players, and all of a sudden it's supposed to all click in 1 year. I don't personally feel that New England was the right fit for him because of expectations. It's not a very friendly media place, so to speak.
No, not for people of his melanin's tone.
Yeah, say it. They're not real favorable of people of color, especially in key roles, so to speak. It's coming fresh off the Tom Brady era, which was nothing but Super Bowl hardware, so to speak. It's just not the best situation I want to see him walk into. I just don't feel it's going to be, and I hope his resolve is good mentally, because if it's not, he's going to be really in the wrong place if he's not has the mental fortitude to deal with what's going to happen in Boston, because expectations are going to be high. You know why? Based on his past performance, we feel he should be a good enough quarterback to make this happen, because he's not green. So for him, learning the system should mean learn the system, get right into it, let's go. That's the expectation, not, oh, he's a rookie or he's only been in the league a year or two. Higher expectations come based on his past performance. So past performance is indicative of a lot of things here, and I just don't think it's the right fit. As far as I'm concerned, he got paid enough money based on what he's done in the last couple of years, which has been absolutely nothing. I wish I could get paid for doing nothing for 2 years.
Yeah, well, it's not just him doing nothing. You got to remember he didn't have a lot of help. He was one of the most hit quarterbacks in the NFL. He wasn't protected because of his size. The hack-a-shack issue, people thought because he was bigger. So when you have a terrible offensive line, it's very difficult to, especially as a quarterback position. Ask Peyton Manning his first couple of years, when you have anything. So, but his health has been a huge thing for him. But now apparently he's healthy. He's shown tons of videos how he's healthy. He missed the remainder of all last season, or the remainder of the season last year after he got hurt, and then had the entire offseason. So he's healthy. I just think it would have been part of the reason is New England didn't have a lot of cap room to begin with, so they couldn't have given him a $5 million, $7 million contract, and X amount guaranteed, $4 million, $5 million guaranteed, because they were under the cap, they were under pressure, so that was a big part of it. And Richard Sherman knows this, but I think he's taking it a bigger look at the bigger picture. But I think I would have liked to have seen him get more. But you know what? Now it's a prove it deal. And if he does get it, here's the thing: since it is a contract year, a 1-year deal, so to speak, for him, if he does get anywhere near that $7.5 million to earn, guess what? He just earned himself a hell of a lot of money coming in 2021 and about 2 or 3 years after that.
And that's the whole thing. I mean, there's a lot of things here. I mean, I understand that players always feel like I'm worth this because of this. Okay, that's your perspective on it, because you're not a business owner. So of course you feel that this is what you're worth. And if the numbers were indicative that Cam was going to be that kind of person, as far as I'm concerned, there wouldn't have been that kind of rigmarole about it. Just in my opinion, there just wouldn't.
Hell of a lot of money, coming in 2021.
But that's what I'm saying.
2 or 3 years after that,
based on what the Patriots had, they literally had to deal with that and contend with it that way. So I'm okay with where it is. To be honest, I think it's good for Cam, because if this turns out to not be the right fit, so to speak, he kind of gets an exit out of this. You know what I mean? If it turns out not to be the right fit, if it doesn't go good for him, okay, so you didn't make the money. But you also get an exit. And the other thing we have to keep totally in perspective here is that nobody was really hot and heavy to pick him up. So believe it or not, he had to have that come to Jesus moment where, like, I can't believe I'm Cam Newton and I'm still unsigned. And God knows if Jameis Garbage Winston can be picked up and I'm way more proven than he is, and I'm still sitting here, he had to check his pride to the side to be able to make this move. And hopefully that's going to be the motivating factor that gets him playing back at the level that we know he can play at.
And it's going to show, it shows a lot of maturity, because you're right. He had to eat probably half or maybe a whole entire humble pie, because, you're talking about a league MVP, talking about a guy who was, you just mentioned, the face of the NFL for a couple of seasons. A guy who was larger than life. I mean, literally and figuratively. I mean, a guy's 6'5", 260, as a quarterback. I mean, that's a big boy. And, the things that he did, was it 50 touchdown passes in 1 year, 50 touchdowns in his MVP season. The things he was doing with running the ball and throwing the ball were just unbelievable. And for him to fall to grace to get an incentive-laden contract shows how much he's fallen. A lot of it had to do with his personality.
Yes.
With his friction, and but what's really funny, unfortunately, is a lot of times you don't hear that about other quarterbacks. And then don't get me wrong, I criticize Cam a lot.
Don't speak in code. Talk to it directly. Don't speak in code. What do you mean you don't hear about it usually from other quarterbacks? What does that mean?
They won't mention it when you say Phillip Rivers. He's fiery or he gets mad, or well, Jay Cutler, they get mad. They criticize everything about Jay Cutler, so that's not a fair comparison. But like Phillip Rivers, when he would get mad and he would yell at people, and he'd bark at reporters, he got a different. It was a different tone around him than when Cam did. Cam was then pouty. Cam was moody. He was immature. He was this. But when someone like Phillip Rivers does it, it's not. He's fiery. He's competitive. And I think that's just a horrible,
okay, but we also know, for what it's worth, that historically, see, these are the new things that we are struggling to deal with as a country, that there is a double standard that exists, that if you show emotion and passion as a Black person, you're fiery, you got an attitude. Whereas if you're fiery and passionate as a white person, guess what? You're fiery, you're passionate. Hell, they might even say that you have some swag, because you're kind of showing a little bit of emotion. I mean, you could think about the list of people, Baker Mayfield. You could put a whole bunch of people in there that don't necessarily get a label for being fiery and passionate and speaking their mind, where it's always been that opposite way for Black athletes. We know that. So my thing is, this is why the people who've done well at this have learned how to manage their public persona along with their professional persona. And there's a lot of Black athletes that mastered that. They know exactly which way to go. Like, I'm not trying to deal with the extra drama. Like Richard Sherman, here's the thing. He's fine with it. But as long as his level of play matched it, it's never an issue. It's only a bigger issue when your play declines and now you're looking for a new team or a new contract. Now personality issues get thrown into the mix too.
Yeah. Yeah. And the bottom line should be performance, but unfortunately it's not just performance.
It's a tool. Think about it. Why talent is so indicative on the deciding factors with this. Think about how many people at one point were willing to take a risk on Ndamukong Suh when he was known to do things that were bad. Stomp on people's helmets, allegedly saying,
no, allegedly. We saw it. It's on video.
You know what I'm saying? So just remember, but at the peak of his career, people were still willing to sign him because what he brought to the table. So even when you may be a fiery, they may think you've got too much attitude about you. If your talent matches, people will take you. This is how Antonio Brown has dug a really deep hole.
Yeah, because he was the best receiver in the league for about a 4 or 5 year stretch.
Yeah, he was too big because he was leaning too heavily on that, and he started doing extra stuff too that really made it more complicated for himself. But I'm just saying, people will still pay you if the talent is there. The problem with Cam is the talent was there. There's now a question mark. It's also
injury. Right.
Exactly. And now it's also, but he also comes with, a drama queen. Cam kind of got that reputation as being a drama queen. He's a diva.
Yep. They are. But listen, we got to take a quick break. We'll talk a little more about Cam later on in the show. But listen, we have to take a break because on the other side of the break, we're going to switch gears. We're going to talk with our guy, Josh Hicks from We Are Regal Radio, talk a little Bulls extended off season and what moves they're looking to make. So don't go anywhere, folks. Bulls talk coming up next right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago.
By Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Former NBA Players Association President Antonio Davis on ESPN talked about the NBA's plan to return in the so-called bubble and how there's still tons of concern for the health of the players.
I don't think anybody should look at our teammates highways. Now, it gets very interesting if you're on the Lakers and you got a chance to win, that kind of stuff. That may be different, but I think my answer would still be the same. Like, hey, this guy has an issue with his health or family's health or kids or any of that comes before this game, period.
A handful of Major League Baseball players opting to sit out the upcoming season. ESPN's Buster Olney on why.
There's so many more portals through which players can get infected, exponentially more than what we're seeing in the NBA with its bubble.
Blue Emu promises no chill, no burn, no odor, just what you need to soothe tired muscles and joints. The Sports Flash is driven by Jeep, Chuck Sanders, 1330, 95.9 The Zone.
So how many of us have lived in sweatpants, socks, and hoodies the last couple of months? I don't think I can remember what a belt is. Luckily, there's Skechers for your feet. So now they're all staying safe and starting to get out a little bit for the summer. We keep that same comfort no matter where we go. Just head to Skechers.com and you can see all the ultra-comfortable options Skechers has to offer. There are comfortable sandals and shoes for running, relaxing, walking, playing golf, everything you love to do under the sun, out of the sun, in the rain, in the house, whatever. And so many machine washable out of Skechers exclusive air-cooled memory foam. See them all right now at Skechers. Skechers. Now they're all safe. Starting to get out a little bit for the summer. We keep that same comfort no matter where we go. Just head to Skechers.com and you see all the comfortable options.
Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 8338-ROCKET. And if you need some extra money, a cash-out refinance could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on this Hump Day edition. It's the middle of the week. You know what? After this, it's all downhill from here. We got a big holiday weekend coming up. 4th of July for many people is going to be lit, literally and figuratively. It falls on a Saturday, so a lot of people are going to be celebrating that and enjoying that this weekend. It's going to be hot. Maya, it's going to be 90s the rest of the week. I love it. I love it. I might actually be able to lay out and get some color. I was going to go to Michigan this weekend And my guy's like, oh, he goes, you come next weekend. He goes, I got to work this weekend. I'm like, so I'm like, so I might be broadcasting the show from Michigan next Friday.
Hey, I'm one of those people that's odd about weather, and I'm not complaining about this because this is what we look for when it's cold outside. But for some reason, when I'm at home, I really don't want really hot weather. It could be like 82 degrees, and I'm okay with that. Now, when I'm on vacation and it's like blazing hot,
you want it then because you're on a beach with a drink in your hand. And
exactly. But I'm like, I'm not going to do all this because then it's hot, it's humid, and you think this looks crazy. On the weekends, it's going to look real crazy. But it's going to be like, I'm going to look like Cree Summers. I'm going to look like
a different world.
A different world. That's why it's going to be like big as heck all over the weekend because it's going to be like, oh, let's frizz out. But you know what? We've been waiting for this weather. I just want people to remember, please be safe because I know it's hot weather. We're, in phase 4. Everything pretty much is open. Hopefully you're, socializing with people you know versus people that you don't know. But we still have issues, and Illinois is doing okay right now. Let's not ruin where we're at with kind of our bounce back from COVID-19 because we get socially irresponsible.
Let's not act like Florida, Arizona, Texas, and California. Yeah. Let's not act like those jokers.
Let's not lose ground because we actually are doing well in regards to our cases declining. And we've been patient. So let's not ruin it in one weekend when we get tons of spikes because we were irresponsible. But I'll be honest, this might be the first real test because people get to interact more.
Yeah, they are. People are going to be on boats. They're going to be on because I got a buddy with a boat, and I'm like, man, I want to be out on the sun on the lake, but then again, maybe not. Then again, maybe not. Well, listen, we got our guy's waiting in the wings. I'm fired up. He is a contributor. He's on Sports Zone Chicago. He's a senior writer for We Are Regal Radio. You can find him on Twitter at jhicks042. Guys, welcome back to Shawn and Maya. Josh Hicks. Josh, what's up, Papa? How are you? Good to have you back.
What's up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for having me back on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. I read your article. I was like, we got to get Josh on to talk about this because, obviously in the midst of nothing to talk about, so to speak, these are like important conversations that are coming up in the absence of sports about moves that teams like the Bulls can make in regards to coaches and general managers. And they had a lot of time to reflect on this, so to speak. So tell us a bit about your recent article about the Bulls' future management moves.
The Bulls pretty much have now a 9-month layoff with the fact that the bubble, with the NBA restarting the season and the fact that because of their current performance within this season, this wasn't good enough to make it in the bubble. So now they have this super long 9-month layoff before training camp and preparing for the next season. So 3 components for sure that the Bulls really need to really counteract on is building up their front office. They've already done that with the new office management changes that they made between Arturas Karnisovas as well as Mark Eversley with the new tandem of the vice president and the general manager. But they need to add more to that because obviously in the past, the Bulls have always had an odd structure, an old school type of structure where they only had 2 people or a couple people really handle almost all the duties aside from at the time Guy Foreman and John Paxson. So now they've already diversified those roles with bringing in J.J. Polk, who's a huge capitalist guy and a huge guy that will help when it comes to Bulls free agency and money management. And then they brought in Pat Connolly, who is a very known, respected scout / player developer within the league. So they already started diversifying their front office, but they need to continue that so that way they can bring more depth within the not just from a voices perspective, but also from an intellectual perspective as they try to move forward in the new direction that they're moving in. So that's the first thing. The second thing is obviously the head coach. Jim Boylan, as of right now, is being reported as he's not coming back. But there's also been at the same time a rift between both the owner and previous management as well as the current management. Obviously, you have a new management that wants a new direction. 9 times out of 10, that coach is not going to be part of that new direction, especially if he's been part of the old regime. That's just business in general. However, obviously, John Paxson, who's now the senior advisor, and Michael Reinsdorf and Jerry reportedly want to keep Jim Boylan. So now that you have this 9-month layoff, what type of advances are you going to make from that head coaching position? Obviously, AK and Eversley wanted to wait because we didn't know what the NBA season was going to bring. We didn't know if they was going to be part of the bubble. We didn't know if they were going to do a separate league or a separate like exhibition type of style gameplay while the other teams are in the bubble. But now, because we have this restart, and it's pretty much known at this point that there most likely will not be a separate encounter of games being played outside of the bubble where the Bulls can participate. You have to really think about who your next coach is going to be. And once you finally figure that out, then you got to talk about building the coaching staff around that coach, because now you're talking about player development. Now you're talking about trying to fill out this roster. Now you're trying to figure out who should stay and really who should go, and how do you actually maintain the core foundation of players that you really believe in to not just stay around, but also build on top of what they already performed last year, which for some of those foundational pieces is kind of questionable because some have progressed, but some have regressed.
And can't we honestly say with that, that's a key point. Regressed, some people didn't move forward, some people did. That to me is a huge function of coaching. It's also a huge function of environment, which is also a huge function of coaching. And at this point, how anybody who comes into this organization can look at this and think that Boylen is still the right fit is absolutely insane, simply because there was dissension in the ranks in the locker room because of him. So to retain him in good faith, if I'm a player, if I'm Levine, I'm like, I'm not feeling like this is the right move being made with retaining him. We need someone else. So to me, if you're changing all this upper management piece, to keep Boylen wouldn't make a lot of sense to me at this point.
No, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. And like you said, the history behind what you're saying. Jim Boylen is a below average, from a winning perspective, head coach. He's had over a year and a half with this team, and they have not at least made the 500 mark. They've been well below 500, and that's with the full roster. One of the things we actually need to keep in mind with, especially with Jim Boylen, is the fact that he did take over for Fred Hoiberg. And one of the knocks on Fred Hoiberg was he never had a full team to actually coach, because the Bulls had been plagued with injuries. At the time when Fred Hoiberg was the head coach, we had a semi-healthy Zach LaVine. He tore his ACL, and he was in ACL recovery. Then you had the injuries with Wendell Carter and him being unfortunately not being healthy. At that time frame, Larry was questionable. He couldn't stay healthy. So Fred Hoiberg he never actually got the full justice of coaching a fully healthy Bulls team. And we did not know what to expect out of that. So when we brought in Jim Boylen and the team is actually healthy, and he actually got to start the season with a full-blown roster, which on paper should have been a playoff team, they didn't live up to that potential. And some of the players regressed. Now, Zach LaVine, being the player that he is, he actually stepped up his game and should have been an all-star this past season, but unfortunately just missed the mark. But your other foundational pieces, Wendell Carter Jr., Larry Markkinen, they got worse. They really got worse under this Jim Boylen era. And if I'm AK for short and Eversley looking at this, it makes no sense to keep the people that are digressing your current foundational talent. You're supposed to be developing players. They're regressing. So why would you keep the regime that have contributed to this regression amongst your foundational players? It doesn't make sense.
Guys, we're joined by Josh Hicks from We Are Regal Radio, talking a little Bulls basketball right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago.
So let me throw this at you, because it's interesting. We have a climate shift in regards to the mindset of, there is no Rooney rules in the NBA. So I guess we can say that's good faith, that if you're qualified, you'll be interviewed. But we've seen repeatedly the fact that Patrick Ewing couldn't get a job except for at Georgetown, but the likes of others could step into roles like that has always baffled me. But that gets back to there's still issues in the NBA, just like there is in the NFL. So my question I posted on Facebook yesterday is obviously change in GMs and bringing in, obviously people of color to that middle management that's missing. And I said, I kind of feel like this is a right now move, because if we weren't in the current situation right now with more social consciousness and people being called to the carpet, I don't know that the Bulls make the same shift. And they look at maybe going to get a black head coach, as it's being rumored they may consider. So with that being said, someone's like, no, it's not true. The Bulls definitely, Reinsdorf has always been good with diversity. But the funny thing, the only thing they could talk about diversity with was with the White Sox. I said, the team with the hardware and the legacy has never really been a diverse organization. And I said, if you don't believe me, have a conversation with BJ Armstrong.
That's very true. I mean, B.J. Armstrong was actually, if you want to go back in Bulls history, he was supposed to be the John Paxson of the Bulls before John Paxson ended up taking that role. So if anyone that knows that history, it's B.J. Armstrong. And I actually vouched for him to be the GM, even though we knew it was a long shot for the most part. But he's someone that could have really shifted this culture within the Bulls, not just because of the fact that he knows the Bulls history, he knows what it takes to win championships, but he's a player's person. He's a relatively player trustworthy relationship guy, and he knows how to, and he's with the top talent. He has top talent. His top talent is Derrick Rose, who represented the city of Chicago and was the youngest MVP. So we know that B.J. Armstrong had these connections. But to your point, Maya, about diversity, you actually hit the nail on the coffin because of the fact that one of the last few times the Bulls actually had a black head coach was Bill Cartwright. That was back in the early thousands before 2010.
Right.
So it's been a long time since the Bulls actually had a black coach. And that's why this move, the moves that they made at this present moment within the new direction and the new tandem was so ideal, because that's what AK harps on, is diversity. That's why he hired Mark Eversley as the first black GM of Bulls history. And based on Eversley's connections as well as AK's experience, they now have the portfolio and the platform and the opportunity to hire someone of relevancy within the minority candidate, from a minority candidate perspective, especially as the African American.
So
I think it's when they hired AK, and that was the one thing he said. He goes, well, it was rumored that it was going to be a black general manager, and I thought that was great. He is a big proponent of diversity, and you see it. He put his money where his mouth was. He hired Mark Eversley. Now they need to seriously consider, okay, who's qualified, because we don't just want people hired just because then if they flame out, like, well, we'll see what happens. We hire someone, and I want someone qualified. I want someone who deserves a shot. And if he messes up, guess what? He messes up. But as long as he's qualified and African American is qualified, and get him the job. I would like somebody who has some coaching experience. I would like someone who's known for being a player's coach, who's known for being a disciplinarian a little bit, okay? Because you need that, but not too much, because too much of that in today's game, you have a mutiny on your hands, and we don't need that. I don't know who that guy is. How difficult is it, Josh, because of COVID-19? Because can they start looking for head coaches now? Should they start looking for head coaches now? Why don't they fire Jim Boylan right now? What's the issue over there?
Well, it's a kind of unique situation because of the fact that they wanted to wait on Jim Boylan, because if the Bulls were able to play games, it didn't make sense to change coaches right away and then try to finish out a season. That just doesn't make sense. So they wanted to see from a season perspective, what the NBA and the league were going to do. Now that they know, they can't make the moves that they necessarily need to make to relieve their head coach if they choose to do so, and find out the replacement for that candidate. Now, there's some, and like you said, there are some coaching candidates out there. I mean, you got Tom Thibodeau, which, even though the Bulls did get rid of him, in this unique situation, he does fit the bill to be the next Bulls coach. You have, reportedly by the Sun Times, Ime Udoka, who's the assistant coach of the 76ers. Obviously he will be a first-time coach, but he is a well-respected coach within the league, especially for his defensive mindset that has clearly helped the 76ers all this time to be able to make it to the playoffs. Then you also have Adrian Griffin, who is familiar with the Bulls franchise because of his playing days and playing for the Bulls, and with the fact that he's with the Toronto Raptors, who recently just won the title this past season. He helped put that team and that scheme together to win championships. But for me, to piggy off what Shawn is saying, with someone that has a player relationship when it comes to coaching, as well as the fact they have some disciplinary actions, to me, as of right now, there are potentially 3 candidates that fit that bill. Kenny Atkinson, who was the former Brooklyn Nets coach; Jason Kidd, who is now the Lakers assistant coach and is currently being interviewed for the New York Knicks job; and a dark horse that, although he does not get the respect he deserves, he really should be considered in a lot of these coaching positions, is Mark Jackson.
Thank you.
Mark Jackson is someone that he made the Warriors who they were before the Warriors.
Yes.
Like, people have to give him the credit where it's due. If he helped breed Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Stephen Curry, to a point, especially defensively, to a point where Steve Kerr just took over and took them, obviously, to becoming the dynasty that they were. but the Warriors would not be who they were or who they are if it was not for the leadership and the defensive mindset and the perspective of Mark Jackson. If you bring that to the Chicago Bulls right now with the young team that they have, he has experience in building talent, and with his connections around the league, he can bring superstars to the table. That's why you made this move. That's why you made the top tier moves in the front office, because of the fact that you never had the ability to have front offices or coaches that relate with your players, and you don't have connections to bring superstars to the table. You want to fill that void, you got to bring in a top tier coach that can fill both roles. And for no matter what situation the Bulls have, especially maybe not for this year, but the following season in 2021 in the offseason, where you actually have a little bit more of a robust superstar free agency market that may include Giannis Antetokounmpo and Anthony Davis.
You know, you've
been on that train a long, Mike. You've been on the Mark Jackson.
I've been talking about Mark Jackson for like 5 years. I'm serious. I have. I said the fact that people discount the fact. Don't get me wrong. I love Steve Kerr. You know, he's a former Bull. Love Steve Kerr, and I'm giving him respect. He's done exactly everything you do with the team when you're handed to. It's kind of like John Gruden going to Tampa Bay when he left the Raiders. You know, he took over from Dungy. We ain't stupid. We knew exactly what Dungy did before he left. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I've been on the Mark Jackson thing for a long time, and to me, I like him as a fit. I'm like, not interested in Jason Kidd. Just for some reason, he doesn't do it for me. But I think Mark Jackson, especially being one of those all-time, assist leaders, something that the Bulls really need to learn within the talent that they have, he could be such a benefit to them, having them to understand where their talent is, who does what. One of the things that Coach Thibodeau did so well when he was with the Bulls was that he took the talent that he had, and he took like a player like Luol Deng and helped him to understand, okay, they kept trying to make you a 1 or a 2 in regards to how you work within this offensive scheme, when really you're more like a 3 or 4. But his real place of importance was when he put him on the floor with the bench, and he ran the bench at that time. He helped players to understand their role and their value within their respective offense and defensive schemes. I feel like Mark Jackson has that same ability, and that's so desperately with this team that's young, that should have been getting the development pieces they had not been getting for the last couple seasons, is what they need. And I think it makes the Bulls far more viable, because let's be honest, for the longest time, nobody wants to come and play in Chicago, which makes no sense whatsoever. I think this changing of the guard with management and attitude and a competent head coach could totally change that mindset.
Most definitely. And to piggyback on your Mark Jackson and the point guard perspective, we do have an electrifying point guard in Kobe White. Now, Kobe White, even though right now he's playing more of a 2 guard, he will eventually have to learn what it's like to be a point guard to assist and set up and run an offense. With his scoring ability, he has an extra demographic that, quite frankly, Mark Jackson didn't really have as a point guard. But you take the IQ and the ability to set up an offense like Mark Jackson did for all these years, making him the elite point guard that he was, and combine that with the scoring ability that Kobe White has, now you're talking about a multi-dynamic point guard that the Bulls was lacking. You didn't have that type of point guard since really Derrick Rose. And if you have that void to fill with obviously an emerging all-star going into a superstar role like Zach LaVine, now you're talking about a deadly backcourt that looks feasible. And the more feasible that backcourt is, the more people that are, especially in the superstar realm, that are in that 3 to 4 range, like a Giannis, like an Anthony Davis, that looks appealing. That can look appealing to them, depending on, like you said, depending on the coach. To where now there's interest. Now there's interest, and they want to inquire about what this ideal future in Chicago could potentially look like with them at the forefront. But like you said, you got to get the talent. And you don't have to just get the talent. You got to be able to develop the talent. And once you develop the talent, now you start to get the interest of the superstars that you really should be deserving to have at your table. There's no reason why, as the 3rd largest market in the entire country, with the history that we have, we should not be able to get a superstar to come to the table and at least consider the fact that I need to come to Chicago. Like, it doesn't make sense. We're talking all these sports channels are talking about the anniversary of the decision with LeBron James. We whipped on LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, superstars over all these years. We could have that actually had interest in Chicago. They did not come. And quite frankly, you can blame it on whether it was Derrick Rose and his recruiting, But 9 times out of 10, it was often reported it was because of John Paxson and Gar Forman. Now that you have this change, the Bulls can really make some noise to at least start shifting the narrative. And as you continue to shift the narrative, like I said, this down year that we have, in this 9-month period that the Bulls are taking place, as well as the fact that now they're preparing for next year, it actually creates more opportunities than we realize. Because yes, Anthony Davis is supposed to be a free agent after this upcoming season, and although it's more likely that he may step in and he might opt out for a new deal. With this coronavirus pandemic taking place, that may actually make him reconsider that decision, because he may not make the same money, especially if the NBA has to renegotiate the CBA. He may opt into his deal. And if he opts into this deal, that makes him a guaranteed free agent in 2021, which is where the Bulls can have more cap space, as well as a year to show the league that, hey, we're actually building something, which is something that free agents look for when it comes to that offseason. Giannis by then will be a free agent. And there's other top tier talent I can't think of right now, unfortunately, that actually will be in that same pool. But you have that, as well as some players that may be asking for trades. One ideal guy that we should be keeping in the back of our minds is DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan with the San Antonio Spurs, that situation isn't looking too good as far as a long-term solution. They already think about trying to move LaMarcus Aldridge and just doing a full rebuild. You may be able to get a deal with DeMar DeRozan, especially since Mark Eversley and DeMar DeRozan have that relationship back from the Nike days. So you never know what the Bulls can do, especially this upcoming season with this new tandem. But at the end of the day, you have to show your worth. You have to show that you have the coaching staff, you have the players, and not just the players, but the development of the players moving and progressing in the right direction, along with your front office to show that the Bulls are for real. And this is the prime opportunity for the Bulls to do that.
Good stuff. Yes, I agree.
Guys, that's Josh. He is Josh Hicks, the senior writer for We Are Regal Radio. Hey, great stuff, Josh. We appreciate it. But do me a favor, do us a favor, let everybody know where they can find you and your work online.
You can find me on Instagram at that guy Josh Hicks, and on Twitter at jhicks042. Follow us at realregalradio.com. And our social media at Regal Radio 1 on Twitter, and We Are Regal Radio on Instagram. We got some good stuff coming up for you guys. Stay tuned.
Excellent. Thanks a lot, Papa. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, now, guys, that was Josh Hicks from We Are Regal Radio. Good stuff with the Bulls, and I like the front office, the initial front office moves. Now these guys need to take the baton and run with it. They've been given the baton.
Let them take the baton.
That's probably the most. That's
the key thing. Let them do their job. Like, you went out and got two very competent men. And I'm not going to look at Gar Pax and say they're not competent, but after 15 plus seasons, I feel like I can say you just couldn't get the job done, and it's not like you didn't have time. And I want to say the comment about Bill Cartwright being head coach, I said, that doesn't really count, because that's typical Ryan Dorff behavior. Hire a former player. He's good for that kind of stuff, to create that opportunity. So doesn't quite cut it for me. And that's the only thing we can look to and say for all these awful coaches that we've had along the way. And Bill Cartwright's the only Black coach that's been there. That's not a good look. So, and mind you, it's not saying the coaching search, because I don't want people thinking, are you insisting that this person must be a Black person? I'm not insisting anything. Not to mention, I can't make it happen. But I think it's important to know that there are plenty of good coaches out there, and I want all the best consideration to be made. And I don't want anybody that's green, because they really need somebody who's seasoned, proven. And I'm going to say it again, Mark Jackson would be the best pick.
Too many young players. There's too many young players to get a new coach, a first-time head coach. There's just too many. If you get a veteran team, then maybe you can go and you can kind of learn and being helped by the actual veterans on the court. But right now, this team needs direction. This team needs a leader. This team needs somebody to take them and push them to beyond their limits, which is what coaches do. Make them believe that they can perform, and have them and put them in positions where they can perform on a consistent basis. And that's not coming with a first-year head coach. I'm sorry. We need someone who's been there, done that, someone who's been through the wars of an NBA, even as an NBA season, maybe as a player, but definitely as a head coach in this league, not in the European League or the CBA or the D League. We need a guy who has some proven and quality NBA head coaching experience, and that's what's going to really help this team. And you talked about getting people to come over. Well, guess what? Guys aren't going to come over if you got a young coach who doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, there might be talent here, but if this coach doesn't know what he's doing, they're not coming. And that's why we need a big splash with a name.
The only real young kind of, let's say, coming from college head coach that has proven his weight has been Brad Stevens. It's difficult. And obviously that means he had an NBA skill set. You know what I'm saying? He had the ability to coach at that level. It's hard to jump from college to the pros because it's a whole different beast in regards to personality, expectations of those players. You have a captive audience in college. You don't have a captive audience in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? They have different expectations from you and the level of respect. I think that was part of the issue with Hoiberg. Jimmy Butler showed you that, how much he thought about him. Seriously.
Big time.
So definitely important.
Well, listen, we got to take another break. And on the other side of the break, we're going to talk. We had talked about COVID-19 regarding sports. We're going to talk to a gentleman who we talked to just a short time ago about the EPL starting, the English Premier League starting out in Europe. And they've been at it a couple of weeks. We're going to bring him back and see how that league is progressing. And could that league be a model for the American professional sports leagues here? So don't go anywhere, folks. Jamar Harp coming up next. More with Shawn and Maya in the morning on Sports Zone Chicago.
Quicken Loans presents the Sports Flash, driven by Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Former NBA Players Association President Antonio Davis on ESPN talked about the NBA's plan to return in the so-called bubble and how there's still tons of concern for the health of the players.
I don't think anybody should look at a teammate sideways. Now, it gets very interesting if you're on the Lakers and you got a chance to win, that kind of stuff. Yeah, that may be different, but I think my answer would still be the same. Like, hey, this guy has an issue with his health or family's health or kids or any of that. That comes before this game, period.
A handful of Major League Baseball players opting to sit out the upcoming season. ESPN's Buster Olney on why.
There's so many more portals through which players can get infected, exponentially more than what we're seeing in the NBA with its bubble.
Blue Emu promises no chill, no burn, no odor, just what you need to soothe tired muscles and joints. The Sports Flash is driven by Jeep. Chuck Sanders, 1330, 95.9 The Zone.
So how many of us have lived in sweatpants, socks, and hoodies for the last couple of months? I don't think I even remember what a belt is. Luckily, there's Skechers for your feet. So now they're all staying safe and starting to get out a little bit for the summer. We keep that same comfort no matter where we go. Just head to Skechers.com and you can see all the ultra-comfortable options Skechers has to offer. There are comfortable sandals and shoes for running, relaxing, walking, playing golf, everything you'll have to do under the sun, out of the sun, in the rain, in the house, whatever. And somebody a machine washable out of Skechers exclusive air-cooled memory foam. See them all right now at Skechers.com.
Jay Garner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. When you turn to Rocket Mortgage, we can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 8338-ROCKET. And if you need some extra money, a cash-out refinance could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya in the morning on this Hump Day edition. Mike. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? It's all downhill.
Wednesday, July 1st. We're into a whole new month. Are you ready? Did you not run right by you like you weren't there?
Man, what do you mean June? For as long as that pandemic was and everything else, this year has gone by so fast. We're literally at the halfway point we're starting the second half of the year. 6 months is in the books.
So this is a great time to self-reflect. Like, in these 6 months, what has my life been like? And and here's the thing. I want people to think beyond the scope of COVID-19. Because a lot of people want to say everything in their life went topsy-turvy because of COVID-19, and that might be partially true. But my thing is, were you on the right track before it hit you?
And no, you know what? And keep it real.
And keep it real.
It's all about perspective. Because if you didn't come out of COVID-19 with a new skill, a new job, something different that changed that you can move forward with when the pandemic was over, then you wasted those 3 to 4 months. Then you literally wasted it. Okay. There was enough time for you to start reading books. There was enough time to learn how to trade Forex. There's enough time for you to get into real estate investing. There's enough time for you to start taking real estate classes. There's enough time for you to start doing everything and being an entrepreneur so you don't have to be affected by this, by if something else happening again.
You
Not that
know,
we expect it, but it can happen. But now you're recession proof if you decide to do something, you know, for yourself and make your own money, because guess what? Most times you're not going to go as hard for someone else as you are going to go for yourself. So if you wasted that time,
that's
people,
literally speaking, there are people who have taken this opportunity with COVID-19 and they turned it to their advantage. The rule of thumb has always been, and my father has always said it as an economist, you should always have multiple streams of income. So that if you happen to lose one, you don't become destitute. If you depend on one thing, your eggs are in one basket. If something goes wrong with that basket, then what are you prepared to do? Not to mention the whole conversation about how many months of your income you're supposed to have saved to help you weather a storm. Because let's say you could become injured and not be at work. Not just COVID-19. I want people to really stop and rethink about where they're at. And if they really could be in a better situation if they had had the due diligence to think about this. See, 2020 is hindsight. If you was check to check before COVID, you was no check and COVID for lots of different reasons.
You reminded what your dad said, what you said about your dad. What are you prepared to do now? It reminded me of the scene in The Untouchables when James Bond gets shot, Sean Connery gets shot, and he's talking to Kevin Costner. You guys go, what are you prepared to do now?
No. I remember that scene all because it's Sean Connery, of course. You know.
I know you love you. I had to throw the
old man Connery. In there, old man, he's not quite what he used to be, but there was a stretch there when old man Connery was hot. And now he's just old man, you know. But he was hot. He was a hot old man for a minute. But yeah, that's true. But you know, that's a whole nother conversation. But anyways, we're like you got 6 months left in the year. So yeah. Hey, what are you gonna do?
Best of it.
Okay, speaking about COVID, though,
leading right into our next segment.
Right. You see how it's turning everything topsy-turvy, obviously, with the NBA trying to get back on track, MLB, NHL. Everybody is really trying to figure out how to make this work. Well, the Europeans, you know, they will blaze forward, and a lot of stuff will be sometimes will wait. So the EPL started, European Premier League started what, about
English Premier League. Yeah.
About a year or two ago. And we right before it was starting, we had on Jamar Harp, who is our Sports Zone soccer insider, who's going to tell us a bit about kind of what happened since it started, how has it gone, how have they been affected, how's it looking, does it even feel like the league as we had known it before COVID-19? So let's welcome to the show, obviously, Jamar Harp. Hey, Jamar, what's up?
Hey, Maya. Hey, Shawn. Thank you for having me back.
Did you get a haircut or something, Papa? What's different about you?
You got all raspy? What's going on?
No, you still got the
I think it's just a day.
I was like, whoa. Hey, all right. Okay, so
look at you for Shawn and Maya. Got a fresh cut. Fresh,
I was
you
just
got lined up in the back too. You all lined up.
Oh yeah, my agent Z Lock said I look like a little kid.
Hey, good looking out, Z Lock. Good looking out. Shout out to Z Lock.
All right, so we talked to you right before, it might have been a day or so before the EPL was kicking off. Tell us a bit about how that's unfolded thus far.
All right, so since the Premier League has started, they've been doing things that kind of make the game experience seem the same, especially for fans on television. They have an option of you can pipe in crowd noise or not crowd noise. They've done things for Black Lives Matter due to their presence of African players from the diaspora. They started, a kneeling campaign before the matches where most of the Black players are kneel with a fist. They put Black Lives Matter on the back of their jerseys. And then the league started an initiative. It's called BAME. That stands for Black, Asian, Minority, and Ethnics. And what they're trying to do is to get more people into coaching. Obviously, the B and the A stand for Black and Asian, but the M is for minorities, which indicates women, and the E is for ethnic groups. Remember, the Premier League is in London, England, which is West Europe. So they have some racism, i.e. there's not a hegemonic state in Europe between the Eastern Europeans. So the ethnic could be some people from the Baltic regions or Slavic groups or former Ottoman Empire that is considered, the low class of Europe. And what they're going to do is they're going to place individuals with a team next year for basically the whole year and get them shadowed. The key component is, like I said, you have the B and the A, but the M and the E, which letters are going to be prevalent? Is it going to be more Black coaches? Is it going to be more Asian? Is it going to be more women? Is there going to be more ethnic groups or Eastern Europeans? So that's to be seen.
Okay, so this sounds like that interesting take on affirmative action in this country.
Exactly.
Affirmative action is that umbrella that has everything you just talked about, except for maybe the ethnic piece. We don't really deal with that here. But I noticed how benefits of affirmative action tend to go a certain direction versus others.
Exactly.
And it's interesting when you say black. Can you define something for me, Jamar? Because most people in the U.S. because MLS is not like the Premier League at all. Like it's just not. And when you say black, we're going a black head coach in soccer. Be more clear about what that really means when you say that.
Well, when I say black, that's pretty much an anomaly in Europe. They have a football association which spans over 90 teams. And over those 90 teams, you can find at most 2 coaches. The most successful coach was at West Bromwich Albion, which is Darren Moore, maybe like 5 years ago. But since then, there's not been a lot of opportunities, not only for coaching, but investment in the leagues, youth teams, etc. But there's an influx of players on the field. A lot of this can be paraphrased in William C. Rhoden's book, $40 Million Slaves, in which he looks at the NFL and uses that as a comparison of how the fans, management is all of one ethnic group, but the majority of people that participate are of another.
Yeah, I kind of eyeballed that book. I took great exception to that. I get where he was going with the comparison, but it's a really piss poor one.
Yeah, it's very strong, and I don't think you should, use that lightly.
Yeah, I was like, you know nothing about what slavery was like, and I get his point. Find another point of comparison, because I just felt that was a discredit to the institution of slavery and how brutal. And
exactly.
So
yeah, the title was what got me. Like I get what he was trying to do, but to 40 million. If you're making $4 million. It's very difficult to call someone a slave at that particular point. You may have a lot of rules and regulations you have to follow and things you don't like to do. When you're making 10, 20, $30 million, you can deal with it. You can do it.
Instead of slavery, to me, I look at it as a proverbial glass ceiling where I can compete, but after that, I'm relegated to, working with youth or, 3rd or 4th division where I can be a top player, even a middle class player of European descent, and ascend into coaching and make millions of dollars and extend my career.
So what's interesting about the Premier League, and one of the things I've noticed about it, if we think we're fanatical fans here, I think they're like American fans, like American football fans, like on 10. They are intense. What's their kind of response to, I know they're not exactly in the mix, so to speak, with this approach about being more culturally and racially and ethnically conscious. There's been a lot of instances in the Premier League where they haven't really embraced a lot of their people of color, so to speak. As a fan base, they're kind of NASCAR-like sometimes, not to be mean, about not embracing. Do you think this initiative is going to roll well with the fan base that clearly is probably more predominantly white, so to speak?
It's definitely not going to sit well with the fan base. Just like in American football, how a lot of people feel like they're losing their opportunity to play because people of African descent are now playing positions that they didn't play in the 90s, 80s, or 70s. In England, it's the same thing. Right now, the players face abuse, not only verbal, but physical, because, like I said, in Europe, they have fan clubs dedicated to just sexually, verbally harass minorities or anyone of color. They're called ultra groups. So these ultra groups, they go to certain bars, they drink, they have, racist chants. They'll come into the game and throw flares. I don't know how you can heat up a penny and throw it, but they have some device that does that.
Talked about that. Yes.
So when I was in Italy,
yeah.
So when I was there, they had built those. I think I mentioned before, like little bus shelters. If you're here in Chicago, I'm talking about the bus shelters.
Yep.
They had that because that's exactly what they do. They heat up pennies and throw them at the opposing players. Insane.
So I think these coaches, their safety is really going to be on the line because they have to live in these towns. England is it's sort of like Chicago in a sense, where Chicago has the east and west side, but they have so many different boroughs, different neighborhoods that are based off of, tradition and value that obviously we weren't a part of because we weren't in England at that time. So it can be very dangerous.
Guys, we're joined by Jamar Harp, the Sports Zone Chicago soccer analyst over here, talking the EPL and how that's helping, how that's coping during this COVID-19 right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning.
Beyond the fan experience, and yes, J-Pod, the soccer fans in Europe do seem to be very mentally unstable. I've noticed that from afar. Like, that seems a little extra, but okay. How has the overall play been, though, on the field? Because you had a time off, a break. How is the play looking? Is there a club that's looking like, they're kind of playing at that level, they bounce back, they're right back in the mix? Or does everybody kind of seem like they're still trying to get back into the flow of things?
Well, I would say Liverpool kind of showed, their guns. They were leading before the stoppage. They've actually won the championship. Remember, it's based off of points. So they won it with 86 points. So that means they're uncatchable. And the funny fact is a majority of their players are from the African diaspora. They have African players from the Netherlands, Belgium. They have one gentleman that he lives in England right now, but his parents are Nigerian. And the rules stipulate in national soccer or global soccer that until you play for the national team, you have to play for that country. So he's played for England's under 18, under 17 team. So there's still a chance he might play for Nigeria. So one reason Liverpool was able to do that, as I stated before, with an influx of African players from the diaspora, they use a style of play that most people, don't use, where they run and create space on the ball, overlap, and they really use the 1v1s to attack and get into scoring positions.
Okay.
What are the 1v1s? Because I'm not a soccer guy. So
all right, I don't think like I knew what you was talking about. Like what?
Okay, so and pretty much in soccer, it's just like any other game, and there's key components to win. And if you're attacking, the best thing you want to do is overlap, because a lot of people will just put all their players behind the ball. So let's say I had the ball and I wanted to pass it to Shawn. Maya will run past Shawn, so that way they have to decide who they're going to guard and they can't stand still. That's the overlap. And then the 1v1 that's the key component of soccer. You have to beat an individual. If you watch the game a lot, oftentimes the United States and other teams, when it's one-on-one versus a player, they'll pass the ball back instead of trying to attack him with individual skills such as step overs, different ball tricks to get past him and getting a more favorable scoring position.
Oh, so it's 1v. Is V is in versus 1v1?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get it then. So that's you see that a lot in European where they step over the ball and they give little head fakes and try and get around there. It's okay. I see what you're talking about now. Yeah, they got a little attitude, little swag, little
Exactly. The rules stipulate that the ball has to stay in bounds. So the player can actually run out of bounds and get back on the ball and continue to attack, versus the NFL. If a receiver goes out of bounds, he had to be forced out of bounds. If he goes out of bounds against his will and come back in, it's illegal play.
Oh, okay. Okay, guys, we're with Jamar Harper, our Sports Zone Chicago's soccer analyst, who's talking a little English Premier League right here on Shawn and Maya in the morning. So one of the things you talked about was moving forward. They have a lot of initiatives in the in soccer over in Europe now due to the current climate of the world. Really, do you see that as? Do you think that this is a good model for the NFL, for the American sports teams? And if so, how soon do you think they could probably adopt some of these things? You talked about getting minorities into coaching in lower levels to try and basically have a feeder program, is what it sounds like. How soon do you think that could happen here in America?
In America, that can happen anytime, it was deemed appropriate. If you remember before, the black players weren't allowed into mainstream sports during segregation. But after the game with Bear Bryant in UCLA with Alabama and he lost, he made a classic statement saying he wouldn't get black players until he needed them. So that's when you found the influx and SWAC, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, which was the SEC before the SWAC, dominated. If you look at the state of Louisiana, my graduate alma mater, Grambling State University, has more players in the NFL Hall of Fame than Louisiana State. So when the need is found for black players, such as now, because if the players complain, they have all the power. If the players say, we want this player, if a top recruit says, I won't come to your school unless you have a coach that looks like me, then it'll be implemented immediately.
Wow, that's intense. That's very similar. We're talking about Kylan Hill. When his name comes to mind, a Mississippi State running back who said that he would not wear that uniform and he would not play for that school. Actually said, I won't represent the state, is what he said. They're playing at Mississippi State until they got rid of the bars and stars, the Confederate flag, and man, that kicked up a firestorm. That kicked up one hell of a firestorm here in the States.
Exactly. Actually, the state of Mississippi, all the Division I coaches, they went to the Capitol and made speeches. A great friend of mine, a former colleague, Vincent B. Dancy, now the head coach at Mississippi Valley State, gave an passionate speech. He's a native of Mississippi, Eastern Mississippi, Shaquille, Mississippi, to be in fact. And he talked about what that flag means to him and actual experiences he's had. And remember, he's my age, so he's had experience with the Klan and other factors. So just because Caitlin Hill said that, they removed the stars and bars that quick, something they couldn't get off for hundreds of years. And that shows you the economic power of these collegiate athletes.
That's true, and that's true because you know what? If he started a movement, if he left, and just imagine all the athletes down in the South, in the Alabamas and the Mississippis and the Floridas, if they decided not to stay away from Mississippi because of that flag, just the athletes in the state of Mississippi alone, you take all the black athletes out of there, man. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it real. Me and Maya talk about this all the time. Follow the money. Cash rules everything around me. Cream get the money. Dollar bill, y'all. No, that's money that these you lose games. You're not going to bowl games. You're losing bowl game money. And all of a sudden now the alumni and the boosters are not happy because you're losing games. That affects your budget, and it's really a financial thing.
Jamar, I want to throw something at you because I know you're our soccer insider, but I also know you have a lot of experience in coaching college football. Just in case you didn't know, he's a Hawkeye. Even though I'm not exactly proud of us at the moment, but
you seem nice anyway.
Let me ask you a question. Because I've seen, your resume is very, very impressive in regards to your experience with coaching in college levels and schools. Do you really think, when we talk about this movement that's going on, because I'm kind of surprised how it went over the pond and how it's having an impact in England and even in Europe, because they've had a lot of issues for years, just like we have here underlying, especially for immigrants from African countries and especially religious issues with Muslims. No secret the problems that Europe have had. So I'm like, this movement that's happening through soccer is really surprising me. But let me ask you a question. When you talk about, is there enough momentum with this social conscious and awareness that it could really flow back where black athletes about going to HBCUs? Do you really think that's something that's feasible?
I definitely do. And I can invoke references when I was in the Southwest Athletic Conference. If you look at that conference, they have a lot of athletes that transferred from SEC schools, end up playing there and going to the NFL. For example, Tavares Jackson, he started at the University of Arkansas and transferred to Alabama State. Kincaid, he was a quarterback at Grambling a few years ago, transferred from Ole Miss. So there's already been a wave of athletes that realize that once they get to these schools, they might not like the social factors on campus and decide to transfer. This next wave of athletes have to be the wave that decide we're going to start there from the beginning and bring back the tradition of what it used to be. And that should happen very soon, partly due to the economic climate. And again, the athletes are realizing their net worth. The NCAA has instituted rules where you can make money off your likeness. So it could be economically feasible for a top athlete to, let's say, go to a North Carolina Central University and play for the great Lavelle Moton, who is a coach on the United States Olympic basketball team. So if you're going to play for anybody, a historic coach, then it needs to be Lavelle Moton. and these players may go there, cash off their economic likeness, get some of the monetary benefits they would get from a predominantly white institution, and then matriculate on to the NBA after that 1 year. So I think it should be happening, soon. I'm a proponent of it.
Okay.
That's a great thing. That was one of the things that when Maya and I had talked about on the show. I'm like, this is where the HBCUs really need to go and say, okay, listen, if you want to sponsor us, say a car dealership, say a mall, say a local grocery chain, like, hey, listen, we would highly suggest that you pay some of these have some of these players come in, be spokespeople for them. Let them come in and do things, because now you can supplement you can make some money on the side, get you the side hustle. Okay, while you're doing it. Now, that what I did say, there has to be a cap, though. There's got to be a cap across the board, because if you're Ohio State, like, okay, well, if you decide to go to a Mississippi Valley State and they got a car dealership who wants to give you $1,000, but then Ohio State says, well, we'll give you $25,000 for advertising this guy, for sponsoring this, or for being a spokesperson. There's a disparity, and to keep it real, cash rules everything around me, and that's going to be a big influencing factor. Big deciding factor for kids. Because if I could only make 5,000 here, but I can make 50 or 100,000 here, I'm thinking maybe I'm going to go to the 100,000. So as long as they make a universal limit for it, how much you can make per year, which I think they almost have to. If they can do that, then I definitely think that HBCUs have a legitimate shot of starting to nab some of this top tier talent. We've already seen some high school kids have already talked about either they're going or they're in strong consideration. The HBCUs are in strong consideration, and they're on their list.
Well, Shawn, I don't know if you recall, but Kellen Winslow Sr., he was a Hall of Fame tight end from the University of Missouri. He was actually an athletic director at a HBCU. And when his son, Kellen Winslow Jr., was coming out, before he signed with Miami, he made his son go on a visit to a historically black college. So I think just getting the exposure and seeing that, it's basically the same thing. The football field is 100 yards, but your impact, your net worth is going to bring that HBCU millions that the one that got as you go into a predominantly white institution.
Well, I think the other issue that has to go into this too is, 'cause let's be honest, there are some HBCUs that definitely need some endowments to improve the overall campus, just because of the low enrollment. And here's the thing, they're very cost effective from an educational standpoint. They really are. So what we need to look at is more endowments and grants going to those schools. But more importantly, I said, for all these celebrities who want to impact, who's giving millions to different things, let's be honest, from an athletic standpoint, you want to get the standards of weight rooms and facilities up to par. So you're talking about making donations to those schools, like, hey, go in there and get your weight rooms and all these other facilities up so that your athletes have all the things they need to train properly. Because if you do this, then we know more money flows to you, because of the fact that now TVs like ESPN, they're going to want to carry your games. So, it's all connected, but I do think that also there needs to be that outside support, because let's be honest, when you go on a college visit and you see a facility like, let's say at, Michigan or Iowa or Ohio State, coming out of high school, you're kind of wowed, and you go to an HBCU and you're like, my high school facility almost looked better than this in some cases. So exactly. I think there is that piece. We do have young people that I'm not sure exactly how conscious they are about, you're doing this for more than just you. It's for a bigger goal. So some other things do need to play out in this.
Well, one thing that can help with that is the education of the donors. Just like you said, there's a lot of historically black colleges and universities that are decrepit in facilities. And those are the ones that a lot of people give to, i.e. celebrities. However, the athletic historically black colleges and universities, or most commonly known as the Division I's, don't get that same support. So I'm not saying that, support should be skewed from like the small liberal arts HBCUs and all the money should be gave to the Division I's, but donors should be cognizant of the fact that who they're giving to. I haven't seen celebrities or donors of it yet take a school in the MEAC or SWAC, the two Division I historically black conferences, and give money to support their athletics. If you remember, those conferences compete in the Division I. So if you look at the MEAC school, Fang Mitchell from Coppin State, they made the Sweet 16 one time. Hampton, I think, made the Sweet 16. But if those schools were giving money instead of making a Sweet 16, they'd be in the Final Four, the Elite Eight. So I do think more money should be skewed to our athletic institutions, because those are beacons of marketing And people should be more aware of who they give money to. And if they want to give money for athletic purposes, let's find an institution to do that.
Okay, there you go, Jamar Harp. He may be our soccer insider, but he's also our HBCU in the know person. So there you have it.
Jamar, it's great stuff, Papa. I appreciate it. And well, do me a favor. I know I do this all the time, and Maya's going to point to the bottom, but let everyone know where they can find you online.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at Coach_Hart412 and on Instagram at Steel City Coach Q. I'm also on the Livingstone Athletics website as the run game coordinator. You can find me on there for any football needs or questions or recruiting needs of that nature.
Well, we'll have to have you on. So me and you can just talk football, dude. I love talking football.
I would love to talk baseball with you. Josh Gibson, the greatest black baseball player of all time. His family's from my neighborhood, and his grandson runs his foundation. You know, Pittsburgh was the epitome of the Negro League baseball with the two best teams.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, we'll have to do that. You're just a man of many talents, man. Many disciplines. Look at you.
Jack all trades, master of none.
There you go.
Hey, great stuff, Jamar. We'll be in touch soon, man. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Maya.
All right, till next time, Jamar.
Guys, that was Jamar Harp. Very
this is why we're so unique as a platform, is that we have people that are so well versed in so many things, and you often won't get that in other places because those people are siloed. Like, I just want this person. See how we just switched up and talked about something entirely different because it was connected, so to a degree. But that's what our guests are like. They're very, very talented.
Well, guys, we have to take another break. The final break of the show, and we have a pretty big announcement to make. So Maya and I have been excited. I wanted to say it Monday, but Maya wasn't on, and it's been a long time in the works. And
it's been a long time. I shouldn't have kept you.
Yeah, in the dark. Well, we did. We had to, and so we're excited about this big announcement. So don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here. Shawn and Maya in the morning, coming up next with a big announcement right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Quicken Loans presents the Sports Flash, driven by Jeep on 1330 and 95.9 The Zone. Former NBA Players Association President Antonio Davis on ESPN talked about the NBA's plan to return in the so-called bubble and how there's still tons of concerns for the health of the players.
I don't think anybody should look at a teammate sideways. Now, it gets very interesting if you're on the Lakers and you got a chance to win. That kind of stuff. That may be different, but I think my answer would still be the same. Like, hey, this guy has an issue with his health or his family's health or kids or any of that comes before this game, period.
A handful of Major League Baseball players opting to sit out the upcoming season. ESPN's Buster Olney on why.
There's so many more portals through which players can get infected, exponentially more than what we're seeing in the NBA with its bubble.
Blue Emu promises no chill, no burn, no odor, just what you need to soothe tired muscles and joints. The Sports Flash is driven by Jeep. Chuck Sanders, 1330, 95.9 The Zone.
So how many of us have lived in sweatpants, socks, and hoodies for the last couple of months? I don't think I even remember what a belt is. Luckily, it sketches for your feet. So now they're all staying safe. We're starting to get out a little bit for the summer, and we keep that same comfort no matter where we go. Just head to Skechers.com, and you can see all the ultra-comfortable options Skechers has to offer. Comfortable sandals and shoes for running, relaxing, walking, playing golf, everything you love to do under the sun, out of the sun, in the rain, in the house, whatever. And so many machine washable out of Skechers exclusive air-cooled memory foam. See them all right now at Skechers.com.
Jay Farno here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. When you turn to Rocket Mortgage, we can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 8338-ROCKET. And if you need some extra money, a cash-out refinance could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. And NMLS number 3030.
Welcome back to Shawn and Maya on Sports Zone Chicago. It is home day. Mike. Stay inside. It's hot. It's feeling hot. And we got some hot.
It's getting hot in here.
Stick up.
No, keep on all your clothes.
Okay. All right. Hey, I'm getting fit because of CrossFit. I was just trying to just show me look what CrossFit's doing to me, getting back to where I wanted to be. But
look at all this space. Oh man, good stuff.
But you know what? We got some hot news, and we're really excited to talk about it. It's been a while. It's been in the works for a minute here. So we're glad to announce a new show, a new partnership with Sports Zone Chicago, and starting Monday. La Vida Baseball will be on Sports Zone Chicago on the app, and they'll be streaming live here as well. Check it out. So Mondays and Wednesdays, La Vida Baseball Live will be on Sports Zone Chicago, and then on Friday, some guy. What was his last name?
Ozzie Guillen. Ozzie Guillen, yes, and co.
Ozzie Guillen Son, B and Guillen show is going to be is also going to be on Sports Zone Chicago. So we're really excited, and we'd like to welcome them to Sports Zone Chicago. It's like I said, something we've been working on for quite a while. It is a show that we think that you'll love, because if you don't even need to be a Sox fan, but if you know how entertaining Ozzie can be, and now he has his three sons, my three sons,
literally,
or a combination of the three with him every week. It's just entertaining to the max. So we're very proud and very happy to have gotten that deal done, and it's definitely, you're going to want to tune in when they the days that they're on. It's going to be fun. It's going to be one hell of a ride, and we are looking forward to this partnership with them.
It really is. I would tell you, go check out lavidabaseball.com. The thing I love about it, so La Vida Baseball is not about any particular team. They're going to talk about baseball. So if you're just a baseball person enthusiast, boom, you get a quality baseball talk. It's anchored down by the girls, which I love, not the girls, but the girls. Make it clear. I went like no, not the girls, the girls. People, the girls. What do you mean? What do you mean? No. Awesome show, but they have a lot of current players, former players, great interview stuff. That project that's kicked off has taken off like wildfire in the MLB. People embracing them to come in and do their shows. So lots of great guests on their shows. Like I said, current and former players. It's not exclusive to White Sox or Cubs. It's just baseball talk. So, you can get your daily kind of a different perspective. It's good stuff. So like you said, that'll be kicking off on Monday. You can check out the show. We'll be posting more things on the page. Of course, get the app so you can listen to it on the app. We'll be rebroadcasting podcasts of the show. So we'll make sure you have information on how to listen to the show. Same thing, obviously, with being Guillen. Don't have to say much about that. Again, a baseball family, but it's really passionate. It's family stuff. A great show. So very proud to have those be part of the Sports Zone Chicago family, because again, it just keeps adding to our vision of diversity, providing outlet, and just, we have shared goals. And so them coming on board is great. Not to mention, then we got another announcement on Friday, and hopefully there'll be another announcement on Monday. We just have so much stuff happening right now. It's amazing. And I'm glad everyone who's been supportive have been along for the ride. What I need everyone to do, though, is I need you to download the app. And you know what? This is probably our fault, because we don't push it enough, so to speak. Like, we don't cram it down your throat. But the great thing about the app is that you can listen to us on the go, which means you can literally go download the app. It's in the iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon stores. Once you get the app, eventually you'll be able to watch the show in app, but you can listen to it live right now. It also has, if you missed any former shows, you don't have to go scrolling through Facebook to find it. The podcast for the show is right there. So you can hear all our former shows, as well as the Humidor Sports and Cigar show as well is on there. And other shows will start to fall in as well in the podcast section. And then if you just for some reason want to look at my ugly mug or Shawn's ugly mug, you can go back and watch. All the videos are there too. So if you just are a person that you're visual, not just auditory in your whole experience, viewing experience, then you can watch the videos too. It'll take you to your link and you can watch the videos of the show. So whichever your poison is, right? You just can listen or you want to watch. The app is everything, because we are an app-driven platform. So make sure you go download it. You can go to iTunes, Google, or the Amazon stores and look for Sports Zone Chicago.
Yeah, with La Vida Baseball, I'm excited. You talked about the girls, not your girls, but the girls who host La Vida Baseball Live, Jennifer Mercedes and Julie Alexandra. Great girls. I got to meet them at the event over the Being Guillen Live over at Simone's. and they're awesome. They're so down to earth. Just great girls, and you know what? Great young women. Let me say, not girls, great young ladies. And we're happy that La Vida Baseball is along with those two girls. You got to check it out. They're carving their way in the industry, and they're doing that at a very rapid pace. You know, and the ability for them, because they're bilingual, their ability to really get into the minds and really get questions to a lot of the players, especially the Hispanic players, is pretty cool. And they've interviewed quite a bit of Hispanic players. I mean, baseball players in general, but quite a bit of Hispanic ones, where they can talk in Spanish and nothing is lost in translation, and they can really delve into what makes some of these players tick. And so if you're a big baseball guy, baseball person, you're definitely going to want to see it. And if you definitely support the women's movement, you're going to love the fact that these two beautiful Latinas are really carving their own space in this industry.
I feel so bad because I feel like we just minimize Ozzie Guillen Jr. because he rounds out the crew. Forget about him. Ozzie Guillen Jr. is also part of La Vida Baseball Live. So, but the girls really drive a majority of obviously the talk. But Ozzie Guillen Jr. is part of that trio as well. But the girls are so phenomenal, to be honest. And if you can get Ozzie to be quiet, I'm just saying. That's why people are gonna love being Guillen. Wait till you meet the Guillen family. You're gonna be like, "Whoa, Thanksgiving at that house must be."
Ozzie,
wow.
Osney, and Ozzie Sr.
Ooh,
my goodness! And yesterday was Ozzie Jr.'s birthday.
Yes.
And I woke up. I can't believe I didn't text him. So I woke up this morning before I went to CrossFit, and then he was like, "Oh, thank you." I guess he must have did it last night. Like, thank you. I was like, "Oh, damn, my guy." So I texted him literally at like 4:10 in the morning. I hope his wife's like, "Who the hell's paging you, mother?"
Who is this?
Paging me at 5:46 in the morning,
crack of dawn.
I was yawning.
Right.
He was like, "No," he goes, "No worries, it's all good." I was like, "No, I forgot to wish him a happy birthday." But that show is really awesome. Ozzie Jr. and the two girls, man, those girls. And the thing about it is, they're not just eye candy, because they are attractive, but they know know their stuff, and that's to me, that's what is important. Is when you know your stuff, then you know what, then you deserve a shot. And they've taken it and they've run with it, and that's one hell of a show, and that's going to be one of our better shows here at Sports Zone Chicago. And I'm happy to, Berto, that's funny.
Well, and the thing about it is, the reason why this is such a great collaboration with La Vida Baseball is because they have the same vision as we are. There's this piece of communication missing with kind of speaking to Black and brown people and kind of our flavor for how we commentate things. And you know what? And it's like so much knowledge base, not to mention sometimes a language situation. So, there was an opportunity. Someone saw the opportunity to create the very same type of opportunity, and boom, it's taken off like wildflower. And the thing is, check out their site. There's all kinds of stuff. You can see previous shows. There are interviews with players. So, we're just happy that they felt that we were great to partner with, because we have similar ideas of what we're trying to achieve. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon, La Vida Baseball Live. And then on Fridays at noon, Being Guillen, right here on the Sports Zone Chicago. Make sure you get the app so you're ready to go.
Yeah. So we've been holding on to that for a little bit. T's had to be crossed, I's had to be dotted, and we got it done. So we're happy.
We got it done.
We got it done, and we're happy.
I don't think you get that, but Elliot and Ivan would get, but we got it done. They would get that.
Yeah, that was good stuff. So that's what we have coming up, and we have we have hopefully more announcements on Friday and Monday. It's I feel like Biggie, and another one. And another one.
I tell you what, 2020 has been a very challenging year for many, but I have to say, for the Sports Zone Chicago, we've had some hiccups.
Yeah, it's challenging. It's what, but we had to level up. That's all it was. We had to level up.
But what's interesting is those challenges were our growth points.
Yep, big time.
It was a huge growth point for us, and it pushed us to that next level. And even though we were working on stuff, and it was like, wait, okay, got to shift and keep doing something different. And here we are just 6 months in, and I can't wait for the rest of the year, because, who knows what that looks like, because we have other things we're trying to chip away at. So, and don't forget, I talked about what's obviously coming, but remember, there's already shows that you should be listening to on the platform. There's D and Davis. They're, part of We Are Regal Radio as well. We got the Bigs, their shows re-air on on the app. We got Halittack Hall. We got the Windy City Fantasy Show. But here's what we failed you. But we will not be failing moving into this month. You're like, you got all this stuff, but when can I listen to it? You don't tell me. I get that. So we have to be better about telling you this when these shows are airing, tune in. And that's the next phase of putting all this together, is you'll know when you can tune into all those other shows, because they're great shows. And I guarantee you there's something on Sports Zone Chicago that will be your flavor. I guarantee you, like, oh, this is my speed. I like them. This is me. I guarantee we have a show that will fit just right for you.
Yes, it will, and that's the whole thing. We wanted diversity. We wanted we want sports from different perspectives, because we all look at sports differently, and we want, I may not like what this person says or what their take on sports, but you know what other people do, and we wanted to give them a platform. Just because their views might be different than ours doesn't mean it doesn't align with a lot of other people's. And here we're a lot different. We're not the cookie cutter, corporate guy. We express we want you to be different. We want you to be yourselves. We want you to express your opinions, and it doesn't matter if we like them or not. The matter is that we just give you a platform, because if you have an opinion, chances are there's someone who kind of thinks along those lines, and they want to hear it as well. So I'm excited for it. Yeah,
look, we are vanilla, we are chocolate, we are exactly. We are caramel, we are pralines and cream. We got it all. We are the 31 flavors of sports talk. I guarantee you. Get a scoop, you'll like it. I want some ice cream now. I just talked myself into wanting some ice cream just that quick.
You did that.
I can't have it. No, because I can't have it. That's why I want it. Let me just say that.
I was about to say some butter pecan Puerto Ricans, from the boogie down.
I mean, you got peanut. Look, we got it covered. We got you covered. It's all good.
I you know what? Maybe I'll have some when I go to lunch with my mom. I'll have some. So why can't you have?
Because I'm doing this fitness challenge, and it's like a workout thing, and it's like a very specific diet. And to be honest, like that kind of stuff is just not in it. This is week 4, so I got 2 more weeks left. So it's okay. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna die if I don't have it. So just I thought about it, and I was like, and it's hot outside. Boy, wouldn't that be great? But see, but I'm not gonna be able to enjoy it. That's the problem. When this is all over, because now I'm like so focused on what I eat, I'll be like, do I really want that 250 calories? Let me go see if Skinny Cow makes some.
You know what's really funny, Maya? There's like people have started to notice that I'm losing weight. Thank goodness, because of CrossFit. Dude, today was insane. Today we had to do. They're called devil presses, and where you just do basically burpees with dumbbells, and then instead of jumping up, when you jump up, you just you
yes, I did those.
Like snatch.
I did those on Monday. What about snatch? What? Who?
Ooh. But anyway, you throw me, snatch them up over your head.
Oh, okay. I was trying to get more clarification of what the move was. What's wrong with you two?
So instead of just jumping, like you jump for it with a burpee, we had it's supposed to be 50. I'm like, look, my football days are over. I'm not training for a season. I don't need to be in tip-top Division I shape like I used to. I need to be in good shape, but not Division I shape. That's a big difference.
What was your weight?
So instead of 50-pound dumbbells, I'm like, it's like, give me 40-pound dumbbells. So why you look like that?
That's crazy, because we just did exactly that same exercise, but I only had a 5-pound weight. If I tried to lift anything above that, I was going to end up with a concussion. There was no doubt about that.
Maya, I'm a little taller and a little bigger than you. Just a little.
So saying, but that's a lot of weight for burpees. Are you kidding me? That's
so
crazy.
One of the guys, and I don't know if he did, because he did the RX, well, prescribed weight. That's when we're talking CrossFit and working out. When we say, if I say RX, it means prescribed, because RX is for drugs. But prescribed weight was 50 pounds, and that's why I was like, I told the instructor, I'm like, I only my football day, playing days are over, so I'll do 40s. And what are you gonna do? Kick me out? So, but one of the other guys, he decided to do the 50s, and I'm like he doesn't. I saw him work out with us before. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, that's a little bit too ambitious. We had to do a set 5 times. We had a 4-minute span, and in the middle of the third set, he was dying.
Oh yeah.
And afterwards, he was like, "Dude," he was like, "Probably should have done the 50." I saw you. I thought you were crazy as hell, because I wasn't going there. 50-pound weights, 50-pound dumbbells.
If you are a person that hates to work out, like you can't stand it, I think stuff like doing HIIT workouts or CrossFit is the right thing for you, because it will motivate you, it will push you, and you'll be like, oh my God, that was a hell of a workout. Opposed to you just trying to go do random things on your own, you won't get it. But when you start doing that and you're watching other people, and if you have any competitive mode in your body, you'll be like, okay, let me not slack.
An inkling.
Because you're like, I don't want to look like the loser in the group, so let me try a little harder at this. And the thing is, what I will say about CrossFit especially is you tend to see the results really quick.
Yes,
like you'll be like a week later, like, I can button these jeans. Get the heck out of here.
You know what? And the crazy thing about that is if I just got a better diet, because my diet's decent now. It was crap before. I was about to tell you. So I bought about 2 weeks ago, I bought some cupcakes. I have a sweet tooth, and that was my biggest issue. That package of cupcakes, the little 2-pack, you know, you get from the store, it's still on top of the fridge. Still on top of the fridge from 2 weeks ago. I'm like, man, I want that, like, because I know how good it tastes. And I'm like, man, but no, I was like, people are starting to say, oh, I can tell. I was in the gas station this morning. So I come back and get my newspaper at the gas station around the corner from the house from CrossFit, and she's like, man, you out there running again? And I was like, no, I said I do CrossFit. She goes, oh man, I heard that. She goes, I heard that ish was crazy. I was like, yeah, it is. It's intense. She's like, ooh, I wish I had the drive to get up and do it at 5 in the morning. I'm like, well, I said I got tired of being fat.
Okay, but here's the other thing too, because I'll be like, you don't have to be in love with working out to do it. I will honestly tell you though, if you tend to do it in the morning early, you'll find you have more energy throughout the day.
After the first week when your body gets adjusted. Yeah.
Right, your body has to be adjusted. The other key thing that Shawn put me onto, and I still do it, is the whole alkaline pH balanced water is huge and the recovery point. But the thing is, it will jumpstart your day. Once you get used to it, you'll be way more productive. You'll be like, Jesus, I got a lot of stuff done. It's only like 8 o'clock in the morning. Because be honest, if you try to wait to work out at the end of the day, you've depleted most of your energy. And it's not that you can't, but I would say challenge yourself and try it. And you'll be like, you know what? I can honestly say this was different. This was good. Just something different. And there's no reason. People had plenty of time to be working out during COVID-19 when they were sitting at home eating.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how many times did you been to your fridge? Too many.
When the fridge tells you to stop, when the fridge stays locked and it won't let you open it, it tells you you've been there too many times. So it's
yeah, but
yeah. Well, last thing, we got one more topic before. I mean, actually, we had quite a few topics, but the show's only 2 hours, so I'd love to go into more of them, but we have time constraints. I don't know how if our bosses will let us go over because, you know, those guys.
I don't know what it is. We can, you know, we got some flexibility. You can run with it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, and Ivan will probably have to be happy now because there's another Cubs talk. Are the Cubs better with Kyle Schwarber as a DH? And here's one of the questions here's one of the reasons I asked that. You know, Ivan's right. He's chomping at the bit. He's fired up, boy. He's always played the field. Kyle Schwarber has always played the field.
He's that kind of guy.
Okay. He was horrendous when he first started. Now he's serviceable. I'd say he's probably a mediocre at best left fielder. There's a lot worse, but, you know, there's a hell of a lot better. But there's a routine that you go through, and you got to think about that, especially athletes. How difficult is it to be just a designated hitter? Because you're really not in the flow of the game. Because you hit, and then you go sit down for 20 minutes, half hour, then you go hit again. Then you go sit down for 20 minutes and a half hour, 20 minutes, half hour. You're not in the flow of the game. And I'm not saying that, you know, sometimes standing in left field, you may not get a ball hit to you at all, but you're still in the flow. Mentally, you're in the game because you're in a position. Could that affect his ability or his performance at the plate? Because all that's intertwined. And when you've been doing this for so long, Kyle Schwarber is, how old is he now? 26, 27, something like that. You've been doing this for what, 20 years of your life, playing a position, you know, being in the field and then going to bat, being in the field, going to bat. Could that be a detriment to Kyle Schwarber? You're a Cub fan.
I'll wait mine. Go ahead.
Okay, I was like, gonna let you run with it. I have long since said that Kyle Schwarber belongs in the AL. He's a pure hitter. You saw that when he came back from injury, and it was like he hadn't missed a beat, which floored everybody. So I always felt like his fielding it leaves something to be desired. It's gotten better, but it's not that dynamic still. It's not. He could still be a liability considering. But in the DH role, I think this is a perfect match for him. And you can do a little rotation where some days he's DHing and other days he's not. I mean, but right now for the Cubs, he's kind of that instant fill-in because he's a natural hitter. And I mean, I'm not saying others are not like that, but to me, that's his strength. So I think he's a good fit. He's designed for it. And if you can come off of injury and hadn't really taken any bats and look like that, I'm just going to say, I think him sitting in the dugout for, a couple 30 minutes, whatever, is not going to take him off his mental flow, because he just has a good plate presence. So to me, I think the DH situation for the Cubs, they actually have someone prepared to be in that role and don't have to figure out who's going to fill it. So Schwarber is the best fit, not just because we got to put somebody there, but by this natural acumen and that as being a hitter, he's perfect for it. Ivan?
No, you're absolutely right. But the thing is that the Cubs ran into like a pot of gold with this DH thing, because exactly what you said, Maya. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to go ahead and decide, hey, who's going to be in the DH slot this game. It's going to be Kyle Schwarber, because he's such a pure hitter. Kyle Schwarber in 2018, I thought that was going to be the bounce back year, his big breakout year. But it happened to be pretty much the second half, like about the middle of the second, early couple months to second half of the season. He just started raking. He started hitting the ball all over the ballpark, to left field, to right field, to dead center. He had 35 home runs. A Kyle Schwarber hitting 35 home runs when he's, I guess you could say, finding his niche, finding exactly where he's at. Because I mean, baseball, like you could bring anybody, you could bring the best players up, and sometimes they have these growing pains. Kyle Schwarber's been in the league what, 4 years? 4 years, maybe had a big injury. He's been out a long time and had to bounce back, but his hitting has always been there. That's the reason. I mean, they didn't call him a Babe effing Ruth when they went and signed, when they went and drafted him out of Indiana for no reason. Theo sees something, Jed's seen something, the Cubs seen something, and I think if this DH is here to stay in the National League, which I think that they're kind of backdooring it, you know what I mean? They're kind of sneaking it in on us. If it's here to stay, I think Kyle Schwarber is going to be the best DH in the National League by far, because all he has to do is focus on his hitting. He doesn't have to worry about, because you remember he came in as a catcher, he doesn't have to worry about finding a position to play so he can play every day, so he can hit every day. You know what I mean? So I think this does Kyle Schwarber just an immense amount of justice.
You don't think the rhythm and the timing of being in playing a position and going back, and it's. I
would say that yes, if the season had started and they said all of a sudden we're switching to the DH, I would say yes, because he would be playing the field day in, day out. He's an everyday player. Like let's not mistake it. He's an everyday player because he's serviceable in the outfield now. But as far as mentally, I think Kyle Schwarber might have like the best. I mean, I think he might have like the best idea of the strike zone, probably maybe in the National League. I want to say he's top. I'll give him like top 10, probably like best understanding of where the strike zone is. He's a great hitter, but you haven't seen him break out yet. 35 home runs, like quietly 35 home runs. No, did you guys know he had 35 last year?
No,
I didn't know that. I didn't know until late in the season last year that he had 35. But right. Something like that, like you get a pure hitter like that, and you get a sprint like this season, you might run into a lot of fastballs. Batting behind a Baez, a Rizzo, a Bryant, a Contreras. You know what I mean? He might run into a lot of fastballs that go over the wall.
I'll tell you what, like I said, he works. I think he's that player that can make the adjustment because he's a pure hitter. Mm-hmm. Fielding is not his thing. In fact, he's probably like, thank God I can just focus on what I can do. And I don't have to think about all the other stuff that I was awful at, and people let me know that I had 2 left feet. He was like the Uberless driver. I mean, it was awful. So now he can focus on what he does well. The reason they drafted him was because of his bat. Let's be honest. And they were willing to take the fact. How often have we seen players that are just mediocre in their position, but exceptional at the plate? Mm-hmm. And so you'll make all the considerations to keep those people. But on the flip side, if you are exceptional at your position, but you're not good at the plate, that don't go for too long, a.k.a. Gordon Beckham, a.k.a. a whole list of other people I could go through.
David or Big Poppy. Big Poppy was the first baseman, and he's a great player of all time.
So it's like, to me, this is like I'm with Ivan on this. a gold mine just dropped in their lap with this DH starting at the beginning of the season, opposed to putting this somewhere in the mix later on. And it gives them a chance to try this out to see if they feel like it works. On the flip side, I think their biggest issue is more about who the leadoff hitter is, not the DH. That's the problem.
That's Chris Bryant.
Well,
Chris Bryant's going to lead off.
Well,
Chris Bryant's another story, but Chris Bryant will lead off.
Okay, just because he will lead off does not mean he should lead off.
Okay.
Two different things. I'm just saying. I think that leadoff issue has not necessarily been resolved at this point. But we'll see if Chris Bryant, if he works in that position, and is it really the right place for him to even be in the lineup? But we'll see.
I look at it this way. I think it is for him. You want your top guys as bad as often as possible in this shortened season. Now, over 162 games, I don't know, but in this 60-game season, in the 60-game sprint, you want Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, Anthony Rizzo up there as many times as possible. So I think it'd be a good spot for him. Then maybe. I mean, who do you put second is the question, because I want to keep Javi third or fourth, and then Rizzo right after, in and around there. So you want those guys at the top of the order, and Chris Bryant and Javi Baez need to be pretty damn high. 1 and 2 maybe, I don't know, but no lower than third or fourth than those two. They need those two cannot be lower than fourth.
I'll say it like this. With Chris Bryant, this is the thought. You got to pitch to Chris. Like, how are you going to pitch to Chris Bryant leading off the game? Because if you make a mistake, you're going to be down 1-0 right off the bat. And if he puts him on base, now you put a great base runner on who can't. He can steal, but then you got Anthony Rizzo right next to him. So now you have to pitch to Rizzo, because you don't want to you don't want to have two men on right off the bat, and you have to pitch to Bryant. That puts the pitchers in a position to where you have to go at him. You can't make a mistake. You can't pitch around him. You're going to put two guys on for Baez.
Cub fans, like that.
Baez gets to hit the merry-go-round, keeps going and going and going. That could happen.
Yeah. I mean, you're similar, especially in you're top heavy in that order. You can literally stack guys in there, and then maybe put maybe another good hitter, down in the 8th or 9th spot. Why? Just to kind of start the cycle over sooner. So yeah, I see your point. I wonder how. I think you're right. And now that more and more I think about it, because I really hadn't thought about Kyle Schwarber, but let's not forget, he's not just going to sit there. When I said sit there, I was just using that for effect, because he's going to be in the batting cage. He's going to be taking swings. Right. So an inning before, or if he's up, third that inning coming up, he's going to be down in the clubhouse, or taking batting practice, working up a swing, working up a sweat, practicing on a swing. So when he goes to the plate, he's not cold. So it's not like he's just to be sitting there idle doing nothing. So
right.
One more example: Edwin Encarnacion.
Mm-hmm.
That's another prime example of they making the switch.
Yeah, Edwin Encarnacion's hit 30 homers the last 8-9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, listen, guys, we had 2 hours has come and gone. We had a great show. We want to thank our guest Josh Hicks from We Are Regal Radio, calling in, talking a little Bulls in their extended off season. And then we want to thank Jamar Harp, he's the soccer contributor to Sports Zone Chicago, who is slowly but surely displaying his multiple talents and multiple knowledges.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
That's what he said. I like it. So yeah, really good stuff. And really quick before we go, good friend, a guy who's been on our show a few times, Andy Mazer, and he also hosted me a couple of times when I went on to CLTV Sports Feed. It's been official. He's been named the new Chicago White Sox radio play-by-play announcer, taking over for Farmio, Ed Farmer, who former St. Rita grad, who passed away on April 1st. So congratulations to buddy Andy Mazer. So we'll try and get him on the next couple of shows, just to one, to congratulate him, but two, just get his thoughts on the White Sox moving forward here in 2020. Well, man, that went by quick, fast, in a hurry. Wow. So for my Puerto Rican Swiss Army knife himself, the Wiz, Ivan Vargas.
All right, guys. We'll see you Friday. Hopefully, big things.
And there she is, little Savage herself, my co-pilot.
Yeah.
my co-host, the co-pilot of this insanity, my Kai.
Au revoir, mon amis. Tout à l'heure.
I'm your boy, the Superback Shawn Sierra. We're taking a 46-hour break, and we'll see you back Monday on Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 Central Standard Time. So until then, we got 2 words for you, folks.
Stay safe.
We out.
Peace.